Širokej narodne mase.
To legenda.
Yes, we are waiting for a couple of minutes for the Digimar speaker, and then we can start.
We're waiting a couple of minutes for Kishpanat, couple of minutes for other moderator.
Hi, no, I'm here. I will be acting as the moderator. We will wait from the speaker from the European Commission. He will join in a few minutes, so then we can start. Good morning. I hope that everyone can hear me. A very warm welcome to today's webinar, where we will be discussing the advancements in the port sector within the Balkan and the Black Sea region. My name is Lefteris Doukopoulos. I'm an associate researcher at the Hellenic Institute of Transport in Greece, which is a research organization. Today I will serve as the moderator of this webinar, which is actually a follow-up of a previous webinar, a more general one, where we addressed the sector as a whole, that was held back in November, along with the co-organizing institutions of the Balkan and Black Sea Commission of the Conference of Peripheral and Maritime Regions, supported by Mr. Stavros Kalognomos, Executive Secretary, and the International Center for Black Sea Studies, supported by Mrs. Georgia Hanji, Research and Policy Development Manager. So today's webinar is being structured into 3 sessions. We'll have first an opening session where we will address the policy context, and then we will have 2 thematic sessions addressing 2 very important aspects. The first will focus on the business developments, and we will see what is happening in the region, in the ports, what plans there are for investment and how the sector is changing. And the second is on another very important issue on environmental sustainability planning, so how ports are addressing the sustainability issue, considering also the recent policies of the European Commission, the Green Deal, but also the different regulations that have been enforced in the shipping sector. So we will see how also the port sector couples these developments. In both sessions, we have an excellent lineup of speakers who I would like to really thank for taking the time to be here with us today and provide their feedback and valuable insights. Before we start, just to remind everyone for the better organization and in order not to experience any connectivity issues, I would like to ask participants to have their camera and microphone turned off. And at the end of each session, we'll have time for questions and answers. There, you can either raise your hand and I can give you the floor, or you can insert your question into the chat box and I will pick it up and address it to the respective speaker. So with no further delay, I would like to proceed to the first opening session and give the floor to Mr. Ian Shepherd, Senior Expert on Maritime Policy, Blue Growth, Data and Innovation, Maritime Innovation, Maritime Knowledge and Investment, member of the Directorate General for Maritime Affairs and Fisheries of the European Commission. Mr. Shepherd, the floor is yours.
Hi, can you see me? Yes.
Yes.
Very pleased to be here. I'll just try and start up the 2 or 3 slides. I have to request control. Request. So yeah. I can do this.
Yeah, my colleague I think will help you gain access and share your screen. Stavro?
Yes, the only thing is that I'd kindly ask Mr. Djoukis to close his camera and let us get control back.
Okay. No. Is it is it coming? You didn't get control. Request control.
Yes, yeah. May I please ask Mr. Djoukis to close his camera and give us control back? I'm afraid there was a mistake with
Okay. Otherwise, I can send you the It's a very short presentation anyway. I can speak through it.
Could you please now share your screen? Now it must be.
Okay, so allow your control. So where, how do I share screen? Share content, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
you press that.
Share content, window, and then.
Yes, great. Now we can see your screen.
Okay, so can you see a slide?
Not yet.
Not yet. I can.
Okay, no, should be possible. Sharing is okay. Sharing is paused. Oh, try again. Stop sharing options.
Yes, yes. Stop sharing options and then share again. Yeah.
Share content. I want to share the screen 1, screen 2. Okay. Okay.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Perfect.
So the common maritime agenda for the Black Sea. So as we've got here, the overarching policy areas, the Black Sea Synergy, which is led by the External Action Service, but in parallel to the policy and governance options, commitments, one of the key objectives is to identify bankable projects that produce concrete results in the Black Sea that concern the territories, involving multi-level stakeholders. We've all got the key regional organizations, partners like the Organization of Black Sea Cooperation, Commission on Protection of the Black Sea, Secretariat of the General Fisheries Commission, and CPMR. We've got a specific assistance mechanism, including national hubs, supports for national coordinators, and things. So, next slide. So the Common Maritime Agenda has 4 legs, which are similar to the legs in most other sea basins. So we've got healthy marine and coastal ecosystems. So these are fitting in with all the Green Deal objectives: protection and sustainability, addressing pollution, and competitive economy. Specifically on transport, we want to promote sustainable and safe shipping, protecting the marine environment through modern navigation systems, environmentally friendly, carbon emissions efficient and safe ships, and the relevant IMO instruments on ports with faster connectivity and better connectivity. So there's a lot of work going on in the EU at the moment, in the European Commission, about safe shippings. There's impact assessments being prepared for the emissions trading system, where maritime transport will be brought in. There's work on the fuels, alternative fuels, and there's work on energy tax. All these are related, so to try to reduce the emissions in shipping. That's on top of all the work on innovation that's needed. So there'll be incentives, financial incentives to become reduce emissions. So now we have the 4 pillars of the strategic research and innovation area for the Black Sea. We've got the knowledge bridge, the blue economy, key infrastructures, and empowering citizens. There's a project that's link is indicated on the top right of the page, which gives more information about this. So that's a short introduction to what we had to say. So I should go back to Teams now. Yeah, okay, so stop sharing. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Shepard, for sharing the policy context that covers the area. And I think it's important to see that there is transport is a priority, and there is, as you said, a lot going on the shipping sector, and of course ports have a very important role to play also in reducing the emissions within their area from shipping. Actually, shipping emissions within ports are the most important source of air pollution. So it is important to see what actions will be taken, and I think there are programs that address this common maritime agenda that will have priorities for the port to address, and possibly receive some funding to progress some activities either at the research or innovation level.
Yes, it's likely that there will be a zero emissions policy for ports will probably be one of the policy objectives that are currently undergoing an impact assessment.
Okay, that's very important to hear and good to know. I would like to ask if there is one question for the audience to Mr. Shepard on the policy side. If there is something that you would like to ask, we have time for one question. Okay, I don't see any questions. So thank you, Mr. Shepard. We will move now to the first thematic session, where we will address business developments. And I would like first to invite to the floor Dr. Sotirios Theophanis, President of Exantas Institute and board member of the Thessaloniki Port Authority, who will share his insights and contribution on the challenges and developments happening in the area. Dr. Theophanis.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to share my screen.
So,
let me, okay. So here we go. And the slideshow. I think you see that. Okay?
Yeah, great. Yes, yes.
I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to address the issue of the port developments in East Med and Black Sea. Just for your information, until last July, I assumed the positions of President and Chief Executive of the Thessaloniki Port Authority, who is not a port authority, is a port operator. And now I'm more concentrated on my academia and advisory commitments, having only a non-executive position at the board. I would like to do a couple of things to bridge actually the developments in the port sector worldwide and how this applies to our area, to our region, along with what Mr. Shepard touched upon earlier about the policy framework in EU. And the first thing we have to take into account to see where we stand is the new business models in the port sector. We have a strong role of the global terminal operators, And we have a very, very strong horizontal and vertical integration of activities. What does it mean? It means that we have global terminal operators, that they have more than one terminals in an area working together. And on the other side, we have terminal operators who are either subsidiaries of shipping lines, or they do have a certain connection both for land, seaside, as well as hinterland, land side, with logistics activities. We have shipping lines who have their own terminal operators. We have shipping lines with have ownership of logistics providers, and we have even GTOs like DBW who have logistics providers in their in their group. So this really makes a new picture actually in our industry, with a certain applicability in East Med, where we have strong players like Costco and Piraeus, as well as to a certain extent an applicability in Black Sea. There are certain global terminal operators there. The second important thing, and I think that Mr. Seifert in some way touched upon that, is the port connectivity. And we have three actually areas of concern on that. First is the sea liner shipping connectivity network, either having trunk, regional, feeder, or short sea services. I would say that East Mediterranean is quite in a good shape regarding connectivity and the relevant OECD index. Black Sea, in certain cases, lacks depth and capacity of facilities to accommodate trunk mainliner services. And this is an issue that we have to take into account, along with the fact that in the last year, because of the impact of COVID-19, we have actually a reduced capacity, along with blank sailings, from the part of the shipping lines, which resulted in two things. First of all, in difficulties in the operation of ports, as well as in very, very much increased of sea service fees. The second thing is the fact that though we have a very strong pan-European corridors network, there is a certain delay in completing these corridors. I will not get into details because of actually the limited time, which has to do with the fact that we have different regimes in different countries. We have different processes, and it proved actually during the last 10, 15 years I have followed this process in person, proved to be much more difficult than initially planned and actually conceptualized. The third thing is the intermodality. There is a strong tendency for development of networks of dry ports. Even the operation of global terminal operators is to a certain extent concentrated in this intermodality process with dry ports and what we call in our language extended gates concept. Instead of having your gate at the port, you have your gate 300-400 kilometers away in a densely populated area with consumption, where actually you get one dry or more than one dry ports. This is a tendency that it's spearheaded to a certain extent by the industry itself. It has to do with the policies, the European context, the national policies, but it's something which is evolving, it's strongly evolving. The next subject, though it's the subject of the second thematic, is the subject of the green policies. I think that Mr. Seifert touched upon that. I will not get into detail, but I will just underline one or two points that they are related to business developments. First of all is the fact of where we can apply technologies and to what extent technologies can be applied in a unified way by different ports. A first challenge on that is the issue of the onshore power supply, what we call in the United States the cold ironing, exactly. This is something that may apply to a certain part, may not. And though it is tried to be applied in most cases in big ports, in East Med, and to a certain extent, it is considered in Black Sea, it proved to be quite, I wouldn't say tricky, but quite challenging in having that applied in a wide scale. It is still evolving, and still evolving is the issue also of having supplies for what we call the new actually fuels. LNG, which is the most applied so far from the new fuels. The second thing is ammonia or hydrogen, and I was actually attending a conference call of shipping in a conference event of shipping in London a couple of days ago, and from the part of the ship owners and ship operators, it was a concern on how these developments would be practically in the shipping industry consolidated. So this is something which is important on the business side, along with the fact that we apply, or we are intending to apply, new sources of energy, but we have to see what is actually the root of that, and whether having, for instance, electricity from the land side will actually originate from an energy production that it is at the same time, in the same way, sustainable. This is a very, very important question that we need to address in future. The next part of the role of the developments in our industry, and this touches upon East Med as well as Black Sea to a certain extent, and will be one of the challenges the next year, is the role of technology and the role of digitalization in the port sector. If we have to ask where we stand, we do stand in East Med and Black Sea, we would say two things. There are areas where, driven by the port operators, we have a reasonable application of both technology relating to data and digitalization, as well as automation. But on the other side, the big challenge is what is the participation of the port authorities, which are actually the concession awarding authorities in most cases in our area, in our region. What is their participation in this data revolution? To be very frank with you, based on my global experience, port operators are much more ahead as compared to port authorities for various reasons. I think this is something that we will have in front of us in the next year in our region as well, along with other areas in the world where it may be more advanced or less advanced. The last but not least is the issue of the port training. We need people in our industry, and this relates also to issues like infrastructure development and business development. We need people that they are properly trained. And this has two actually elements. One element is the element of use of new technologies. For instance, in our industry, the last years, possibly spearheaded by some academic institutions as well as from operators, we have the use of tools like the digital twins, where you can have a full mapping of the real operation in a digital environment, and this helps a lot in having actually real efficient training. And the second one is the role of regional cooperation in our area, as well as in other areas, to see what are the common, I would say, challenges in having that done. A very important thing here is that in certain cases, operators do not share their port training commitments for reasons that actually relate to the fact of their competition or their individual other level cooperation between them. And with this, I would like to thank you, the organizers, again. I'm more than glad to receive any question. What I try to do is, in a very, very limited period of time, to address some global issues of our industry, which are applicable to a certain extent to our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Theophanis. I think you did an excellent review of the main challenges and that the port sector is facing. And I think we will have some questions at the end of the session and a fruitful discussion on these issues. So I would like to move ahead to the next presentation and invite the floor Mr. George Mamoulasde, PhD candidate, Chief Officer and Invited Lecturer of Batumi State Maritime Academy, to share his insights from Georgia and the port of Batumi, I guess. Mr. Mamoulasde.
Hello, I think you could see me.
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, let me share the screen.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, good day to webinar participants. I'm George Mamouladze from Batumi State Maritime Academy. And today I will give you a brief overview of competitiveness and advancement in port sector in Georgia. So let me say a few things about Georgia. Georgia is located at a highly strategic location. There is a reliable corridor for addressable flow between Caucasus and Europe and between the Central Asia and Europe. This concept is being based on the historical Silk Road for centuries that gives Georgia a significant geopolitical role. Georgia in transport economy, Georgia's transport economy is transit-oriented. The cargo flow is Georgia is around 50% transit. Georgia also serves as an entry gate for the Central Asia and landlocked countries, so that the oil, tin, coal, and other resources and material can be transferred to the Europe, to the Georgia. So due to its strategic location, Georgia is part of several international transport programs. One of them is a TRASECA, Transport Corridor of European Caucasus and Asia. It's an international transport program involving the European Union, 12 member states of Eastern European countries, Caucasus and Central Asia region. The program supports the political and economical independence of the former Soviet Union republics through enhancing their access to the Europe and global market through roads, rail, and sea. On the other hand, there is a new Silk Road, and we can say that it's a new opportunity for Georgia for boosting its transit function. It's a part of Eurasian corridor and the historical Silk Road. Notably, the first rail transportation from China towards Georgia was carried out through the Trans-Caspian International Route in the middle of the 2015. Yeah, let me say a few things about Georgian ports. We have two ports, main port and two terminals. The biggest one is a Poti port. And in 2011, the APM terminal, international known APM terminal, purchased the Poti seaport, and it invested over $80 million US for upgrading outdated port infrastructure and service facilities. including the construction of the new custom services centers and truck facilities. During this period, the port support continued with upgrades of the current port infrastructure and equipment to make it most productive and safest port in the region. Another port is a Batumi port. It's acquired and owned by the Castrans Oil Company, which is a subsidiary company of Kazakhstan National Oil and Gas Company. From 2008, it invested almost $50 million in the port infrastructure. We have also Kulevi and Supsa terminals. Both are also owned by international companies. For Kulevi terminal, it's owned by the Azerbaijan national company, SOCAR, and as regards to the Kulevi terminal, it's owned from 2000s BP terminal. So here we can see the cargo throughout during last couple of years. As we can see, there is a significant effects of the COVID pandemic on the cargo handled by the port terminal during this period. In order to enhance the business activity, several steps have been taken by government of Georgia as well as by the owners of the seaports. So it can be divided in two categories: investment. On the left hand, we have the investment, and on the right hand, we have the legal framework, which consists by two categories. Each of those investments are divided in new infrastructure and brand new port. And for the legal framework, we have simplified procedures like one window system and the tax cuts initiated by the Georgian government. As regards to the investments, since 2021, on the territory of the Batumi seaports, new multimodal terminal started its operation. The modern terminal will specialize in the transit, processing, and storage of products from the Central Asia countries, in particular Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, with the aim to further transshipment of the world market. It should be noted that this terminal in Batumi will comply with international environmental standards and regulation. At the initial stage, the production capacity of the terminal will allow processing the mineral fertilizers up to 1.2 million per year. We have also new PACE terminal in Poti Port. The PACE group has received almost 50 million funding boost from the Overseas Private Investment Corporation for the development, construction, and operation of new multi-function marine terminal at Port of the Poti. A new ultra-modern terminal is now planned for construction, located on 25 hectares of dedicated land, and new terminal will be required regime of operation to drive the depth up to 12 meters, which will allow the vessel up to 250 meters to be accommodated. Besides the PACE terminal, the APM also is planning to enlarge the port itself and acquire new land. The Poti New Terminal Corporation APM terminal, owned by this APM terminal, Mueller, in 2020 has presented his plan for the creation of the deep water port for government of Georgia. The plans requires of investment over $250 million of private capital for phase 1 and substantial amount of phase 2 in extensive development of the port infrastructure and superstructure. It will allow to receive the bigger vessel and load the large vessel like Panamax and even small Cape-size vessels. It will allow also a storage facility that can accommodate big lots of
Mr. Mamuladze?
Yeah, I just lost sound. Mr. Mamuladze, can you hear us? Probably there is something with... can you hear us now?
Hello? Yeah, will you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So there was a brief disconnection.
Yeah, there was some issue. Sorry for that.
But we can hear you now perfectly.
Yeah, and you can see my presentation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I will continue with 40 new terminals. So it will improve the handling norms and also railway services that will eliminate of rail car high detention and storage charges. For the first stage, the key point can be highlighted as a breakwater of 1.700 meters, a 400 meter of multi-purpose quay with 30.5 meter of depth, and dry bulk cargo and an incremental of 150,000 TEUs, and can also accommodate the vessel up to 9,000 TEUs. For the second stage and final stage, it will include 300-meter container quay equipped with 3 STS cranes, and finally it will double the annual container capacity at 40 ports over 1 million TEUs. The timeline for the construction of this terminal is about 2 to 3 years, and first phase it should be completed the middle of the 2020. Yeah. Let me say a few words about Anaklia New Ports. It's a brand new port, and it is planned to create a world-class port complex for Georgia and establish Anaklia as a focal point to trade and from Central Asia and on the new Silk Road trade route between China and Europe. The goal is Anaklia port is to improve the port infrastructure in Georgia, thereby providing reduced costs for those who use the port and subsequently improving economic opportunity regionally and domestically for Georgia. So key features for the Anaklia port will be as follow: a quay wall about 2,250 meters, breakwater almost 3,000 meters. The container berth, which will handle almost 60 million tons per year. In addition, it is also planned to construct the bulk terminal with capacity of 5 million tons per year turnover and liquid berths over 30 million tons per year. Beside the new ports, also new special economical zone is also planned to develop beside the port territory. It will be about 200 hectares of development territory based on concept of green and smart cities. It's an initial stage, 400 hectares for development of light industry and logistical clusters. International airport located in less than 90 kilometers distance from the Anaklia site. Logistical cluster, which helps to strengthen the role of Anaklia Port as a transshipment hub for the regional and trade flow between Europe and Asia, and as well as the tourism, entertainment, and the real estate to complement the development of other businesses cluster to create the most attractive place to live in Georgia and in the region. As regards for the legal framework, it's initiated by the Georgian government. Currently, due to non-compliant legislation with the maritime business, there are no international shipping companies presented in Georgia. So ship owners, therefore, the shipping industry currently generates virtually zero income for our economy. The main purpose of the tax initiatives is to improve the business environment in Georgia and attract the foreign investment in the marine sector to create a completely new business direction with a minimal cost. The cargo inspection, and on the other side, we have the single window initiative generated by the Georgian government. The cargo inspection and customs clearance are complicated and time consuming. So the time for delaying cargo with customs is at least 1 day or even a few days. In order to further develop Georgia's transit potential, a single window service will be introduced, Georgian Ports. On the other hand, the most important component of Georgian European integration process is integration of the trade sector into the European single window system, which will give the Georgia strategic advantages. So what includes the single window? One of them is the digital government services in the port sector. Will free and eliminate eliminate the shifting from the bureaucracy barriers and the processing of the unnecessary documentation. It will increase the freight capacity at ports. It will give the opportunity to Georgia to plan cargo schedules in advance by category and by the volume. The project provides Georgia with the opportunity to increase its competitiveness in maritime cluster and create an attractive maritime sector. Overall, 1 million euros will be spent on the computerization and the digitalization of the Georgian transit system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mamoulasde.
Let's answer.
Thank you. It was a really great presentation. It's great to see that there are a lot of developments happening in Georgia in the port sector, both on the infrastructure side and exploiting the volumes that are being accommodated by the Eurasian bridges. But also it's good to see that there are developments from the government on the administrative side, because this is also important. And I think we'll have some questions after at the end of the session to discuss a little bit more. So I would like to proceed next to my co-organizer, Mr. Stavros Kalognomos of the Balkan and Black Sea Commission of CPMR, who will share a new initiative, will share information on a new initiative on the Atlantic Smart Ports Blue Acceleration Network, which is beginning now. And I think it's a good case that we should consider the transferability of this initiative to the area, because it will possibly result into some important benefits for the area as a whole. So, Mr. Kalognomos, the floor is yours. Your microphone is off.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zdukopoulos. I also have a presentation to share with you while I'll be... Just a moment.
I would advise you start, Stavros, because there's a complication with the presentation and the application, and I will run it as long. Thank you.
Otherwise, I can start it now if you wish. There's no.
Because it doesn't allow me to share the PDF.
Okay, great. So can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, great. Still? Lefteris?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So I will speak today about a new project that will be launched in April. It will be run by the Atlantic Arc Commission of the Conference of European Maritime Regions, the CPMR. However, we'll have some events in order to transfer and to replicate the actions of this project in other sea basins, the Black Sea Basin included. So, the New Atlantic Smart Ports Blue Acceleration Network, ASBAN, is a part of the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund, EMFF, call on cross-sectoral development of innovative port clusters in the Atlantic, on developing a Blue Accelerator scheme for Atlantic ports. The ASBAN project has been selected by the European Commission to put in place an acceleration services platform for the European Union Atlantic ports. However, ASBAN will support Atlantic ports to act as ecosystems to foster innovation in the blue economy, thus diversifying their business models and revenue sources. So the project is a 2-year project led by the collaborative innovation consultancy Beta I in Portugal, and will involve 13 partners from all over Europe and the other side of the Atlantic. This project will support implementation of Pillar 1 of the revised Atlantic Action Plan and will also connect partners in the European Economic Area, transatlantic and other relevant EU and non-EU maritime basins, notably through its network of 123 strategic partners. This platform will function as an open innovation networked ecosystem of blue economy hubs based on smart and green infrastructures in deep connection with the European Economic Area, transatlantic and other relevant EU and non-EU maritime basins, as I said before. So the ASBAN project will achieve this goal by leveraging the existing ecosystem elements, structuring and connecting them, and bringing in private investors. This will result in a final pool of 30 innovative startup solutions developed as pilots in 30 Atlantic ports, attracting 6 million euros in direct private investment, mobilizing 4.5 billion euros of potential private investments, and making a reduction of at least 100,000 tons of CO2 emissions in the operation of the 30 ports. ASBAN will be based on the successful experience of Blue Tech Accelerator, Ports and Shipping 4.0 in Portugal. The project will scale this model in the scope of the Atlantic Action Plan version 2 and be aligned with the European Union Green Deal. So ASBAN has also the support of the UN Secretary General Special Envoy for the Ocean and the Minister of State for Economy and Digital Transition of Portugal. The time frame of this project is 2 years, 24 months, and it will start from this April 2021 to April 2023. The consortium consists of accelerators, blue clusters, and policy, business, and finance entities. Among them, the CPMR through our Atlantic Arc Commission. The CPMR, Atlantic Arc Commission, together with the Maritime Cluster of Canarias in Spain, will lead the work package that will concentrate on communication, dissemination, and transferability of results. To ensure, the main purposes of our involvement in this project will be to ensure the visibility of the project to relevant stakeholders of the blue economy in all the sea basins of Europe and wider society. So, as I said before, the seas surrounding the Balkans are included. We will also focus on demonstration and transferability of the project activities and results to Atlantic regions and the regions located in our area, to connect relevant stakeholders outside the consortium to strengthen the impacts of the project, where it will be EU policymakers, for instance, regional and local authorities, scientific community, public and private stakeholders, and to support the visual networking created by the project between ports, investors, small and medium enterprises, and startups. We'll also aim to provide an evidence base for policymakers at all levels, European, regional, national, and regional local, in developing the new generation of blue policies, including policies in support of the development of smart blue ecosystems and the sustainable blue economy. Among our objectives is also to demonstrate the project's contribution to fulfilling EU ambitions related to the Green Deal, as I said, and to ensure the sustainability of the project once completed. In this framework, we will also organize workshops and theoretical conferences where we will involve our members, such as the region of Western Greece, and partners as the organization of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation, BSEC, that are among the 123 strategic partners, as well as other members and partners interested. I know, for instance, that the Black Sea Association of Maritime Institutions, PSAMI, together with us, we have today Professor Al-Bayrak, is also interested in this project and its deliverable. So, together with our community in the Balkan and Black Sea region, we are ready to contribute to the dissemination and the visibility of this project and the transferability of its objectives and replication of its results in our area. So thank you very much for your attention. Stay tuned, get back to us should you require an additional information, and we'll be happy to network you together with the ASBAN coordinators and partners so that we can bring their know-how to our area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kalognomos. I think it's a great project that is just starting, addressing another emerging role, I would say, of ports, and that is of ports transiting into innovation hubs and drivers of the establishment of innovation ecosystems. So I think it's a great initiative. It was really good to see that there are a lot of ports from different regions, also a bridge with US ports, but also ports from Israel. So it's a very extended network, and I guess we will all be very interested to hear more about the activities, the events that the project will be organized, but also the deliverables that it will produce. So next, next we'll go to the last presentation for the first session. I would like to give the floor to Professor Kalinov, Deputy Chief of the Naval Academy, and Mr. Moskov, representative of Maritime Cluster Bulgaria, expert on port activities, to share their contributions from Bulgaria.
Professor Kalinov just connected, so.
Good morning, dear colleagues. I joined the meeting right now. Please excuse me for the delay, but we had another important meeting on a project. Good morning one more time. I will ask my colleague Seiko to start the presentation, and we're going to speak on the project activities which we undertook in support of port activities. Before that, please let me present the participation of our site in this meeting. On the next slide, we may see that the main participants are the Maritime Cluster Bulgaria and the Naval Academy. The Marine Cluster of Bulgaria unifies business, education, and science organization in order to provide organizational, productional, marketing, and technological solutions in support of all the maritime sector of Bulgaria, and particularly of port activities. And being the main maritime educational organization in Bulgaria, we work in very close coordination with our friends from the Marine Cluster Bulgaria, and we are very happy to provide this support. I want to say a few words about what we did, what capacity we have, and how we may contribute to the different directions of different aspects of port activities. On the next slide, there is a list of items which show our capacity to provide scientific support. As you may see, there are many directions, but let's say that the main support is in the area of informational exchange. In Bulgaria, we established informational center for support of coastal zone management. All these items will be briefly presented and visualized by my colleagues. And let me only mention that we develop our capacity in port and ship modeling. And we already did a few research activities to support, let's say, projects for development of future construction in Bulgarian maritime spaces. Simulation of processes related to port activities, like liquid cargo handling, is also our capacity. Next to it, we may combine simulation of ship maneuvering with simulation of different hydrometeorological conditions. Everything of this we do on the base of virtual models, which we may, let's say, elaborate using different tools and software for 3D modeling. One particular area of specialization of the Naval Academy and our efforts is disaster response, with particular capabilities in the area of oil spill response, I mean prediction, planning, and organization of the response. Traffic assessment, another item. We did a large research on the traffic in Bulgarian maritime spaces, and we studied the routes, we studied the distribution of goods during different seasons, and on this base we recommended new traffic separation system for our country. Additionally, the assessment of the impact of hydrometeorological factors.
Kako da ne? Kako da ne? To nije odgovaranje.
Excuse me, do you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Additionally, the environmental assessment, hydroacoustic monitoring, and the classical area of port security. Now I will give the floor to my colleagues to go briefly, item by item, to show some pictures of what equipment we have and maybe some results of support we already provided. Seiko, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just want a confirmation that you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Thank you very much. So on this slide, you can see the Integrating Information Center in support of coastal zone management, which is built here in the Bulgarian Naval Academy. Our main research projects are conducted, and they're a direct result of the establishment of this center. It was established with the financial support from the financial mechanism of the European Economic Area 2009-2014 under the project BG02 Integrated Marine and Inland Water Management. And this complex has the capacity for modeling and simulation of different aspects of the maritime sector. Two of the main modeling tools we possess in the complex are the port creation tool and the ship creation tool, which allow us to make realistic 3D models of ships and ports based on orthophotogrammetry. And these 3D models are integrated into the system, and we can model existing ports and include them in the simulation environment. Also, another thing we can do with the system is we can build future non-existent ports and assess the maneuverability and the impact of the meteorology and hydrology of the areas and their factors on the port regimes. In this slide, you can see that we have utilized the capacity in several research projects. These are pictures from one of our projects, which was conducted in 2018. It was an order from the oil company Bobas, which requested that we train their personnel in port operations in a specific area of the southeast end of the island of St. Vincent and Grenadine called Stubbs Bay. And for the purpose, we created models of both the area and the port and the ships that they wanted to use and their personnel was trained in the operations in our simulated area before they went on to conduct real-life operations in the area. Other research we conducted was a study of the possibilities for increasing the efficiency and safety of maneuvers, risk assessment, and reduction of time for unproductive stays of ships in the Bulgarian seaports. This study, it was intended for the needs of the ports of the two major Bulgarian ports, Burgas and Varna, and it was related to the changing of the regime of the entry and exits in the ports, taking into account the changes of the meteorology and the hydrology and the specifics of the navigation in the areas. A third scientific study that we conducted was to verify the possibility to introduce ships in a dry dock in the ship repair factory of Odessos. The ships were with approximate dimensions of length no less than 240 meters and width no less than 40 meters. Again, the goal of the study was were varying hydrometeorological characteristics and what their impact is on the navigation in narrow areas. And these studies, they helped the Academy to develop our capacity in the field of navigation, and precisely in this specific field of navigation in narrow channels and narrow areas. As part of the complex, we have developed a simulator for liquid cargo handling. It is located over here. I don't know if you can see the mouse, but it is located over here in the bottom left corner of our complex. It allows us to model all processes of the ship related, ship shore ship, that type. And we already have experience in the area. Back in 2011, we assessed the navigational risk of the Burgas Alexandroupolis project, but nowadays our capacity has increased significantly because in assessing the technological process, we take into account specific fuels, specific facilities, specific types of ships, specific types of weather conditions, and we can provide more contact and more complete way of understanding and conducting environmental impact assessments by assessing the bottlenecks of the operations and the likelihood of emergencies. We can assess realistic consequences, their spread, and we can propose what exact steps need to be taken in order to deal with these situations. This process led us to the development of a module for ship modeling. In the complex, we have 7 ships. You can see 2 examples of bridge simulators. They allow us to maneuver simultaneously 7 ships in an integrated environment, and we can simulate changes in load, and they transfer the effects of changes in load in the maneuverability. And we have supported this by developing 3D models for the navigation needs of narrow areas. Examples of such areas are the 2 Bulgarian ports of Varna and Burgas, which we have developed in our complex. And we currently provide support in the development of 3D models and information layers with orthophotogrammetry. These are examples of orthophotogrammetry, and we use air-based drones, which has allowed us to develop the capacity in oil spill management as well. And as part of the complex, we have established a main operational center for oil spill management and response. It can work both in operational and in training mode, which allows for both planning operations and on-site guidance of real-life operations. We also developed a software that detects oil spills, predicts their spread along the coasts, takes into account many parameters such as the depth of the oil spill, type of fuel, amount of fuel, different characteristics of the meteorology and hydrology, such as currents, waves, solar radiation, wind speed, wind direction. You can see a visualization of an oil spill which was created, excuse me, in this complex in our center. In support of our activities, we had to verify the current schemes of the coast, especially in the coastal zones. Two such field studies we already conducted, and then they've been carried out in the Varna and Burgas bays, with emphasis on the more vulnerable areas such as the entrances to the ports. We acquired the capacity for real-life actions and operations if needed. We have boom fences and ships that are capable of laying these fences. We actually had to use them in our operation in 2019, which was conducted in the port of Varna. At the same time, we view the specifics of the marine environment as integral because the processes in the environment are conducted integrally and cannot occur independently of each other. One of the influences we studied was the maritime traffic density, where data from the existing AIS system was used and processed to study the adequacy of the existing separate traffic scheme, traffic separation scheme. This allowed us, in combination with the VTS Explorer system, our specialized software, to track cargo flows by season, by type of cargo, and basically to conduct a large-scale research on port congestion. The findings were reported in 2017 in the framework of the project Marsplan BS1, where a new system for traffic separation was proposed, covering the entire Black Sea coast. It couldn't fit on one slide. I'm showing you all 3 slides. And we have supported everything with real possibilities for reporting the characteristics, especially in the direction of oil spill and ballast water treatment. Of particular interests are the integrated processes in the adjacent coastal areas, especially those that so far do not exist but will undoubtedly develop in the future, namely aquaculture and the conditions that affect them, especially currents. In this regard, we accumulated equipment that has helped us to perform an indicative study of the favorable hydrological and hydrochemical characteristics of the seawater for the development of aquaculture in the points that you can see on the graphic that I've shared with you. The research was conducted over the course of 2 months from the northmost and southmost area of the Bulgarian Black Sea coast, with the help of the equipment and the crew presented in the slides. The results of the study will be presented in May at the closing conference of the project Marsplan BS2. And now I will give the floor to Associate Professor Antoaneta Traianova.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I have the pleasure to present you the Laboratory for Ballast Water Management and Oil Spill Pollution Control. It was established in 2016 in the frame of the project the colleague mentioned for integrated information system in support of coastal zone management, which was executed by the Naval Academy. As you can see, we have the capacity to carry out a wide range of analysis in response to the requirements of different national regulation, European directives, and international conventions. The next slide, please. We have a mobile apparatus to carry out on board the ship or to analyze the sample in the laboratory, to bring it here and analyze it here. Also, we are focused in the analysis which have to be performed in requirement of ballast water management convention, more especially D2 standard, which requires after the treatment of the ballast water only a few viable organisms to left after treatment. They are divided in 3 size groups you can see on the slide. So we have different requirements to different sizes, and analysis have to be performed in lab and as well on board, which are indicative. The next slide. And this is also the laboratory is able to perform the monitoring of the qualitative descriptors for determination of good environmental status according to the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, and more especially the 2 descriptors D10 marine litter and D11 energy and underwater noise, which are the most problematic for the Bulgaria. We have gaps there, for example, especially underwater noise. There are no definition of good environmental status. Environmental targets are not set, so the Naval Academy is awarded to perform the analysis in the frame of the project Science and Information toward regional environmental action for the Black Sea, which will be started very soon. So this was for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Trajanova.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. I want at the end to present some scientific approaches.
So, just Mr. Kalinov, you have a couple of minutes so as to have some time for questions.
Okay. I finish in a minute. Let's say that we will continue to develop the capabilities, including space observations, and especially our capabilities to combine the picture, the information about the sea with the information about the Danube River. That is, let's say, the general picture of support we may provide to the ports, and all the colleagues, all the partners are welcome to work together, to cooperate for support of the port activities. Maybe later I will ask my colleague Evgeny into discussion to propose one project, one idea of Bulgarian maritime cluster for future cooperation. That was everything, all for us. Thank you for your attention.
I would like to thank all the colleagues from Bulgaria for their valuable contribution. It's good to hear all of these activities and to see also the infrastructure that you have in the academy, in the cluster. And as you said, we can discuss any ideas that you would like to put forward and see what opportunities lie for collaboration in order to advance these ideas. So I would like to take 5 minutes to ask the audience, the participants, to raise any question to the speakers that we had for the first session. You can, as I said, you can either raise your hand and I will give you the floor, or you can, if you would like, you can write your question in the chat and I can address it to the speaker.
Stavros, we have some words to tell from the MCB, please, before questions.
Yes, yes, please.
I'll be only in 3 minutes, very short, but it's very important for all the industries which issues which we want to discuss. Do I have a floor?
Yes, please, but please be brief because we're lacking.
Maritime cluster Bulgaria. We've titled our presentation Advancements in the Port Sector Related to Port Services, Financial Transparency and Document Procedures. We've taken recently a few legal steps from the European Union in this direction. And for sure, these legal steps with these 2 regulations lead to liberalization of the port sector. So it's very important for all the users. Maybe I'll squeeze my presentation a little bit because we are out of time, but let me discuss it in a few minutes. So with this presentation, I'd like to discuss the latest regulations set by the European Union aiming to enhance the competitiveness of the ports by implementing electronic document exchange, unified standards for the port services, and common rules for financial transparency as component of the integration process. For MCB members and for the whole maritime industry, these topics are of key importance. The integration of Black Sea port means safe and sustainable management, technological and infrastructure innovation, quality and efficient standards for port services, and optimization of document procedures servicing the ship calls at ports. The following regulations are of significant importance for all port users. This is Regulation 3452 from 15 February 2017 and Regulation 1239 from 20th of June 2019. Why these regulations are so important are considered as a step forward towards the development of the port system. I'll explain in few words.
May I ask you something?
Yes.
Maybe it would be more relevant to have it in the open discussion session because we'll also have the environmental sustainability perspective in mind. So we can maybe discuss it during the open discussion. What do you think?
Okay, Stavros, shall I continue or really we will discuss this? But only this is important, the service, the transparency, the European single window environment, which is implemented by these regulations. These are part of the development of the Balkan and Black Sea ports. So for sure it's together with the, as I said, technological and infrastructure improvement, it's a very substantial part of this process. Only maybe I'll add few words. This SRFIs regarding the single window environment. This process is irreversible due to this pandemic status, which changes dramatically and will change dramatically the business relations. This is the first important. And second, what I've suggested from the Maritime cluster to be organized, develop a workshop for make a review and to see the status of the fulfillment of these regulations, and after that the gaps to be described and forwarded to a competent authority. So I'm sure it will be benefit all the participants in this workshop and all the ports. Yeah. Of course, we are staying open to discuss and to answer all the questions. By the way, this presentation we send personally to you in the full length to be estimated and taken account from your side.
Okay, thank you very much. As the moderator said before, we'll go for a first round of questions. Mr. Zdukopoulos, if I may, can I ask the first one?
Sure.
To Dr. Theophanis.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Kalognomos.
Thank you very much. So regarding the dry port concept, would it be possible to tell us the main criteria taken into consideration for the decision of the dry port locations, and how could regional authorities or states or other stakeholders attract dry ports to their territory? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalognomos, for the question. Actually, there are two sets of criteria. Do you hear me? There are two sets of criteria. The one has to do with the public infrastructure that needs to be in place. And the main thing is accessibility, particularly for rail services. And the second one is the fact that if you transit from one country to the other, though we are in the European Union area, you need to have very simple, straightforward procedures. This is number one. Number two is to have a local cluster of infrastructure for urban distribution, the so-called city logistics issue. Again, another element is whether you speak about an isolated dry port function or you are dealing with what we call freight villages. They are excellent examples of freight villages in some European countries. I would take as an excellent example the development of them in Germany, GVZ, Güterverkehrszentren. But there are also other areas where there are not successes, but there are failures of that. Thinking big without having hand-to-hand the interest of the private sector sometimes leads to failures. So the answer is not one and straightforward, but these are the main elements. Another thing that has to do with this is whether in practice we do, as I said in my presentation, we do advance the pan-European corridors, because one of the real challenges is the fact that since these are crossing more than one country, the situation, though inside the European Union, but even beyond them, is the fact that the advancement of the local straits of these corridors is not unified, is not uniform. This is another strong, I wouldn't say deficient, but is an issue of challenge. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much. You already told us a lot, but we'll get back to your collaborators to ask for more and to see how we could lobby together with our member regions if interested in developing or attracting dry ports or relevant sectors to their territories.
I will be more than glad actually to help in that, and the fact that I'm not anymore in an executive position in the port of Thessaloniki gives me, I would say, the chance to think a little bit more in an integrated way.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Do we have any other questions for our speakers? I would like then to ask one question to Mr. Mamoulasde. As I said, it was great to hear about the ongoing developments at the ports of Georgia and also the support that is being given by the government. And my question is, Mr. Mamoulasde, has this been driven by the development of the Eurasian corridors? Where are they other plans that are being taken into consideration? Do you have any insights on these issues?
Thank you for your question. As regards this corridor, so main purpose of the building this new port and also improving the port facility already existing ports is the chance that the Georgia can be a part of the new Silk Road corridor driven by the Chinese One Belt One Road system. So if the Georgian government and local authorities will invest or improve the port infrastructure technology, will improve digitalization, and there is a big chance and possibility that Georgia will be a part of this corridor. So the main driver is this corridor for the present moment. Yeah.
Just to follow up a little bit, and do you have like investments from Chinese companies or groups, either on the port sector or any complementary sector, like the rail sector or logistics?
Yeah, for the beginning, during the building, the planning of the new Anakya port, some companies were interested in the investment of the capital, but now the Georgian government working on this particular matters, so they are trying to invite participants and investors from the Chinese companies.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mamoulasde. I see a question also from Mr. Shepard about the marine litter, but possibly, Mr. Shepard, we can address that within the next session. So if we don't have any other questions, I don't see any hands raised or any other comments on the chat. I would like to move to the next session after thanking all speakers of the first session for being here with us today. So in the next session 2, we will address environmental sustainability planning from the port side. And the first speaker is Mr. Moldoveanu, Tulcea County Councillor and Acting President of the Balkan and Black Sea Commission of CPMR, who will share his contribution with regard to the activities and actions taken by the Tulcea port, a river port in Romania. Mr. Moldoveanu.
Hello, you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
Hello, thank you for the presentation until now. Stavros, you can help me with my presentation?
Yes, of course, just a moment.
Thank you. This Stavros will start. I salute you from Tulcea port, near Danube Delta, near Black Sea.
Can you see it now?
This is the map. Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
I show you now a little project of consortium from Romania until Portugal, who was proposed to Commission European in January this year in green ports. And I present you the port of Tulcea and the environmental mobility transport in Danube Delta, Black Sea, and intermodality of Danube in Europe. Next slide. You can roll it. We have Danube River, Danube Delta, natural habitats, human people who lives in Danube Delta. This is the intermodal geographic perspective of Danube with rail, inland water, maritime Danube, Rhine Danube, inland water, multimodal corridor, green corridor of the Europe. Maybe we can see it. Next slide, please. One moment. After we have the climate in Danube Delta, it's Black Sea region. It's a continental climate in our region. We have winds. We have about green energy in this region near the port. We have a big climate impact. We have a lot of problems in the in our ports. Now we have a big project to rehabilitating the port of Tulcea. On the next slide, we can see some pictures about the problems with the water. You have in Tulcea, Tulcea city. The port of Tulcea is a port until 100 years ago. We have a big ethnic diversity in Danube Delta, who are from all the nationality of Romania, with impact in transport, in fishermen's fishing, transport on Danube, on river. Danube in Portugal to the industrial with aluminum factor, shipping factor, and food and transport near. You can see here our industrial economical. We have transport intermodality with road, rail, aviation, and waters. We have airport near to Tulcea. We have a railway. We have a transport road and water in the Danube. Stakeholders. Municipality of Tulcea Country Council, Danube Delta Biosphere Reservoir Authorization, Lower Danube River Administration, Free Zone of Sulina Administration, and another until 2026 customers. About operational perspective in Danube Delta and Black Sea Canal, Sulina Canal, the big canal of navigable canal of Danube. We have cargo, public shared mobility, and tourism journey. We have passenger transport to Tulcea to Danube Delta. In Danube Delta, we have Chilia, Sulina, San George, big local station in the end of the Black Sea of the river. We have micromobility with bikes, with private shared tourism. We can see here some pictures about the activity in transport and the ports of Tulcea and Danube Delta. We have a green approach from now, because now in Europe we speak about Green Deal, about we must be green in ports in the future. We want to have a green port, a green vessel in Danube Delta and port of Tulcea, green journeys, digitalization of port and activity, smart intelligent integrated transport systems, multimodal and green sustainability Danube Delta. After the transports, Trans-Danube pairs needed for sustainability mobility along the Danube inter. Have next slide the map. In Trans-Danube tourism along in the Danube, project of ITI. ITI is a project of Tulcea Bridge, Brăila Bridge. We have Tulcea Port Development. Now we have a big project in our ports, about 40,000 millions euro, who will start maybe a new of port of Tulcea with a new face and a new green approach. About biodiversity, about Danube Delta. I will speak now about what we have here. Transport, it's in the natural reservation of UNESCO. It's have a lot of sites of Natura 2000s. We have about 3,000 animal in this area species. We have a lot of biodiversity in our Danube Delta, and we have that will connect with transport, ships, and what we have. We have a smart port city, smart innovation hub, area the green ports of Tulcea, extension of the concept smart city, smart port city, port as a urban development entity, water pollutant, area climate and opportunities, water city neighbors. Project on Port Tulcea, modernization, reducing time related to operation in ports, increasing safety aspects, accessibility, building a new port infrastructure. Opportunity of investment in European Recovery and Resilience Funds. In the future, that is our maybe bigger projects. We must have good protection of conservation of the biodiversity of Danube Delta, synergy effect in climate and change in our Danube, connect with transport and citizens who live in Danube Delta. We have social innovation, sustainable and smart mobility. We want to integrate the people in freight and transportation, green mobility, low carbon boat and bike, We have here 3,020 species of birds, shared mobility, boat vessels. I present here a Romanian team about our idea of Danube Delta and Port of Tulcea. With context of Tulcea, we have the DNA, the commodity, the flag, Azele, Port of Tulcea, Port of Giurgiu, Bea, Geostu. There are our team and our partner in future in developing the Port of Tulcea in Danube Delta in a green horizon of Europe. I think that it's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moldoveanu, for giving an overview of the port of Tulcea, the activities there, but also stressing out the importance of the environmental importance of the river. And it's also good to see that there is an integrated approach, looking also at how the city of Tulcea can be developed as a smart city. So it's good to hear that these stakeholders are together and working together to progress also on the environmental side, but also on doing smart, on the smart side to improve the digitalization and other processes. So next we will move to Associate Professor Mrs. Baramizde from the Batumi State Maritime Academy, who will share insights on the ecological challenges of the Port of Batumi. Ms. Baramizde, the floor is yours.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
I want to say thank you for the opportunity to participate in the webinar. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
Oh, it was okay. It was on full screen mode.
Oh.
If you can just enlarge it, you can, if you press like from beginning or just to see it on.
Just a moment, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. We cannot hear you, or your microphone is off. Ms. Paramizne, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Sorry for the.
No worries. Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead.
Ecological condition of the port of Batumi. The Black Sea is essentially sensitive to the impact of human activities because of its unique natural features. Evaluation of the waters quality is a necessary component of any research, and only through such evaluation it's possible to create a comprehensive structure of evaluation of the water quality is a necessary component of any research, and only Evaluation of water quality is a necessary component of any research, and only through such evaluation it's possible to create a comprehensive picture about the water ecosystem. Environmental issues are strategic relevance to in European ports. Although the port contributes significantly to the economic and social development of coastal regions, and it's widely acknowledged that port operations also may cause notable threats and pressure on the environment. Identifying the pressure caused on the environment by port and ships activities and operations are important. Important points are also assessment of the pressure from the urban wastewaters. This is significantly not only for port but also for the marine ecosystem. Reduction of anthropogenic nutrient loaded and eutrophication of water is the subject of MSFD and implemented in the quality descriptor 5 for the determination of good ecological status. These important parameters are nutrient level and the direct effect of nutrient enrichment. Nutrient level means their concentration in water column and ratio between the silica nutrient, nitrogen and phosphorus, and also nutrient enrichment. Direct nutrient enrichment means the determination of the concentration of the chlorophyll in the water column and water transparency related to the suspended matter and suspended algae. The main source of pollution of Georgian coastal waters is untreated waste water discharge into the sea. The contribution and rehabilitation of switch system, rehabilitation and construction of a switch system is plant is underway along the entire coastal line of Georgia. These works will significantly decrease the pollution of the Georgian marine coastal waters. In 2006-08 started Batumi City Water Supply and Wastewater System Rehabilitation Project. This project objective is to make a contribution to the socio-economic development of the area and the protection of natural resources, limiting the environmental impact on the Black Sea ecosystem through the rehabilitation of the municipality's infrastructure. And providing the Ajarian coastal village between Batumi and Turkish border switch system. Based on the feasibility study, the following measures are being implemented in next steps: construction of wastewater treatment plant, rehabilitation and construction of sewer of Batumi, rehabilitation of 2 wastewater pumping stations, construction of 10 wastewater pumping stations, construction of full biology wastewater treatment plant, and construction of sea outfall pipe into the Black Sea. The mechanical part is in operate since 2012, and the biological part was put in operation since August 2020. Anaerobic, there in the next slide is shown information about the anaerobic ponds and information about sea outfall system is shown. Wastewater treatment plant of Batumi have a labor on site where daily is making an analysis of ammonia, total nitrogen, total phosphorus, COD, BOD, suspended solids, and pH. The efficiency is now about 80%. For the clarification, the current situation, existing situation, was started the investigation of water quality in Batumi port. In the site, in the slide is shown the sampling information, station location, the monitoring period is from 2017 to the 2020. Frequency was monthly. These parameters, quality control elements, was parameters from the slide was detected during the investigation period. On the slide, you can see the chart. The result of determination of salinity on the surface layer during that period, and we can say that the salinity varied between 9.8 to 70.7, and average salinity was 14%. The content of total suspended solids in surface layer of Batumi port in that period was average concentration was 5.95 milligram per liter, and parameters like transparency, turbidity, and content of total suspended solids are close to each other, and also it's possible to say that the transparency of the Port Equatori is 3.5 from 3.5 to 4 meters. The result of the turbidity are shown in the figure, and also is shown the value of the turbidity and average. Also the average value. Dissolved oxygen is a very important parameter. Oxygen, strong oxidant, plays important role as support fast mineralization of organism. Content of dissolved oxygen and in a high concentration is can show us the current situation in the water ecosystem. The results are dissolved oxygen, saturation of dissolved oxygen in the surface water of the Batumi port is shown on the in the figure. That's also is results are good, and it's very important. BOD5 value in surface water also was investigated in that period. Average value from 2000 in that period was 2.21 milligram per liter. I have summarized the result of mineral form of phosphorus and nitrogens, and results are shown on that table, and these results are very important because in the 25% of measures mineral form of phosphates concentration was below the limit of detection of this method. This method is very sensitive. For the ammonia, the 48% of measures was below the also the detection limit, and average concentration of mineral nitrogen compounds was 10.87 micromole per liter. The concentration is shown in micromole per liter. this is a presentation which can help us to speak about the current ecological situation in Port Akwatory, and of course it if we want to have information about current situation of any marine ecosystem, we need to get results about the condition of water quality, and this investigation we should to continue. And I want to end my presentation with a phrase from the coat of arms of Georgia: strength in a unity. It's only in this way it's possible to get a good result. Thank you for.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Paramizde. Water quality is an important issue for all ports, and it's great to see the results of your research and your study. I guess we will have some discussion also at the end of the session. So now I would like to move to the last presentation for this thematic session. I would like to invite the floor Associate Professor Barbara Roman, who will give a snapshot of the European ports greening and sustainability efforts.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to this webinar. It's a pleasure for me to be here, especially because I am not from the Black Sea, so I am a little bit outsider, but I would like to share also what we are doing, and it is related with all the work that you have been telling during the webinar. So I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see if I'm lucky.
Great, we can see that.
Yeah, can you see my screen? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that's the presentation that I'm going to do now. This work has not been done alone. It is part of the work that it was commissioned by the European Seaports Organization from ESPO, and we did it together with Walter Selen, who is the senior policy advisor of this organization, and also Professor Chris Goodrich from Cardiff University, Marty Puig from UPC, and myself. So what are we going to see in this presentation? A little bit of introduction. What is this about? This is related with a survey that we are conducting for many years for ESPO on environmental issues in ports. Then I will explain which is the sample of ports that reply this survey, and present the four big compartments of results that we have: the results on environmental management, results on environmental monitoring, results on the top 10 environmental priorities for European ports, and finally the news on services to shipping, including things like OPS, onshore power supply, or the use of natural gas and other issues, and finally some conclusions. Well, as I was saying, this is a survey that is not new. It started in 1996. ESPO decided that it was necessary to create this benchmark of the behavior, of the performance of European ports concerning environment. And since then, it has been repeated many years, which allows us to have an excellent European benchmark of data that can be compared with the evolution over the years. And this year, for 2020, we are using, well, we are in 2021, but the results are, the last results are from 2020. We extract normally the data 1st of September of 2020. And for that year, we had 97 European ports participating in this survey. How we get the data is through the EcoPort self-diagnosis method. It is a survey, it is a questionnaire, let's say a checklist of good measures that you should do in order to have a good environmental management system. And from this survey, we can get information, of course, in a confidential way. We are not mentioning which port is answering what. It's all together, so let's say. And this survey is providing this information for us to be able to compare results. As we said in this presentation, we will introduce the 2020 results. Then we will compare with the ones that we have from previous years. As you can see, we have information from many years, and we can see the trends over the time. So this is a little bit the set of countries that are part of this survey. I wanted to highlight Bulgaria and Romania because you are there, so you are part of this survey as well, not with a lot of participation. I hope we can increase in the future, but you are there. The main contributor is the United Kingdom that, well, in 2020 was still European Union. Now next year will not be, so I don't know what they're going to do, because in fact he's 15.5% of the total contribution of the survey. But then we have Spain, France, Germany, and Netherlands, which occupy also a very good position in the contribution to this survey. Yeah? But you can see that we have quite a lot of countries participating in this SDN. So if we look at the sample, we can see that we should say thank you to small ports, because they are the ones contributing the more, with less than 5 million tons per year, and the ones between 5 and 15, 22. So if we add these two, we have more than half of the ports contributing to the sample. So the rest, big ports, are contributing a little bit less, but of course also really appreciated any contribution. Concerning the geographical characteristics, well, we have a little bit of everything. As you can see, we have ports that are embayment or in marine inlets, but also we have estuaries, we have engineered coastlines, and we have inland ports as well. So we are having information from quite a lot of wide sample of ports, which is good because then they can reflect different priorities and different situations. This is the first part of results. Until now, we were seeing the sample. Now we are going to present the first results. The results are concerning environmental management issues, okay? Which one? Well, we have asked a set of questions in this survey, in the self-diagnosis method, as you can see here. They are all in qualitative way. For example, do you have a certified environmental management system, certified with ISO, EMAS, or PERS? PERS is the Port Environmental Review System. It is the only one management system that is devoted specifically for ports and designed for ports. It is managed also by ESPO. And then they reply yes or no, okay? And then we have another set of questions that we ask, always in a qualitative way. Do you have environmental policy? Do you have an inventory significant aspects? And then we could monitor, as I said, since 2013 to 2020, the results. I want to highlight just some of them. You will have a presentation, you will have a chance to have a look at it in more detail, but I wanted to highlight some of them. For example, the existing environmental policy, it's in 96% of the ports that participated in this survey, and this is an essential element for any environmental management system. So it is quite positive that we have that. Together with the inventory of significant environmental aspects. If we don't know which are our significant environmental aspects, we are not able to improve, we are not able to fix objectives and targets for the future. So that's also essential. Another positive thing is the trend, increasing trend, 14% since 2013, of the documentation of the responsibilities for the personnel. It's very important. The personnel know what to do about environmental issues. If we don't tell them what they have to do, it's impossible that they improve their performance. But also I want to highlight something negative, not always positive. As you can see here, we had a reduction here of training since 2013 in 11 points, which is something that we need to pay attention. Of course, last year we had COVID, and maybe could have some effect because, you know, we had less meetings and less things, but this is something that we need to see, as well as these other negative, let's say, in between brackets result, because you see, previous years we had higher percentage of ports with certified environmental management systems, and we have reduced a little bit in 2020 this amount. Again, this could be related with COVID. Well, we know that maybe there are other priorities when we have pandemics than certifying environmental management systems, but it's something that we need to check over the years, because as you've seen, in general, the trend is positive, but since 2019, there has been this drop. Concerning the 65 ports that are certified, the 65% of ports, sorry, that are certified, which is the certificate that they prefer. Well, clearly, the 63% belongs to ISO 40001, so that's the top one. And then we have 17% of ports that are certified with PERS, as I said, this Port Environmental Review System designed by ports, environmental management system specifically for ports. The rest are combinations, as you can see here. EMAS has a very low percentage, only 2%, but it gives us an idea of which are the main certificates for ports. Sorry. Concerning these issues that we've seen, these indicators that we've seen on environmental management, we created an index combining the results of all these indicators, and here you have the results. You can see we had a little bit of increasing trend until 2010, and it seems now that we have a little bit decreasing trend. The one of this year, 2020, it can be explained, for example, with this parameter that we were talking, and the number of certificates. Also, there has been a little bit of reduction of the inventory of legislation. So we need to keep, tracking this decrease, because we need to know if it's because of the sample was different, because of the COVID, because of what, or because really we have a little bit of going back in some aspects. The next set of results is concerning monitoring issues. As you can see here, the top two issues that are monitored over years and years and are always in first and second position are port waste in first place and energy efficiency in second place. Okay, so port waste, well, we know it's an issue that it's really important in ports. Also, we know that we had this last year Port Reception Facility Directive that we need to comply with. So this is a relevant issue, and as you can see, it has been increasing 12% in the last years. Energy efficiency, the energy efficiency is also money, and we know that money is very important. Therefore, also is one of the topics that it has increased a lot, and the top two that are being monitored. You see here a list of issues that are monitored. I'm going to highlight some of the things. For example, soil quality has increased a lot in 2020, but this could be explained, for example, for port developments that this year were taking place. It depends on the year. We have more port developments than others. Or, for example, this 50% of increase of air quality in the last years. This is quite normal because we had a lot of legislation coming out in the last years concerning air. You know, the sulfur directive, the national emissions saving directive. So lots of things to comply with that make the ports to think about the environment and air quality in particular and monitoring. Also, we have an increase over the years in marine ecosystems. This can be related also with the biodiversity importance. We need to pay attention to this issue, and before maybe we were not so aware of that, and now it seems that we are becoming more aware. Concerning also these environmental monitoring indicators, we wanted to ask about the topic that is of relevance, that is climate change, as you hear. There are two questions that I wanted to highlight about this in the self-diagnosis method, which are, does your port experience operational challenges that could be related to climate change? And as you can see here, we have an increased answer, positive answer to this question. So ports are really facing challenges because of climate change. But then, if we go to the next question, it is asking, does your port take steps to strengthen the resilience of existing infrastructure in order to adapt to climate change? Also, we are doing things to strengthen the resilience to this problem, and in an increasing way, as you can see here. Now, the third group of results is concerning the top 10 priorities for the European ports. As you can see here, this is the top 10. And there are issues that are quite clear. Air quality, again, we talked about it when we were talking about the monitoring, but it's the main issue for European ports. Climate change, it has been a topic that it was not so important many years ago, but now, as you know, it's a fashion topic, and it's in second position. Energy efficiency, of course, again, it's money. And if you see these three topics are related, because, of course, air quality and climate change are related, but also if you are using less or more or less energy, you are producing more or less pollutants. And then we have in fourth position noise, which is totally related with the relation with the local community. You know, it's one of the biggest problems that can affect cities surrounding the ports. So these are also quite connected. Then after we have the ship waste, that was also one of the most monitored issues, and other issues that you can see here. And I'm going to present the evolution over the years. We have here the results since 1996 till 2020. The ones that are in the same color are repeated over the years. And as you can see, air quality has been the top one since 2013, and energy consumption has been most of the years the second one. It has been moved, for example, these last years, you can see here, because climate change came very strong there. You know, climate change entered for the first time in the ranking in 2017. In 2018, it went to the 7th position. In 2019, it went to the 3rd position, and now it's in the 2nd. So probably in 2020, who knows, maybe it's in the top one. But here you can see a little bit evolution, and that there are many aspects that are always the same. In fact, if you look at the top 10, since 2013 to 2020, they are always the same top 10, but moving positions, okay? So air quality is not moving, but for example, ship waste, as you can see here, is in yellow, with yellow, with yellow. It's there all the years, but moving positions. Another set of results, the last one, is the services to shipping. So services that we are offering in the ports to help the environment of the ports to be better, so to be cleaner. One of them is, you know, is the onshore power supply. Here we are talking about the offer of onshore power supply, but the high and the low voltage. So it's a little bit misleading, this result, because here we're including the two, high voltage and low voltage, which we know that for ocean vessels, the one that we use is the high voltage, which the results are a little bit lower than that, but also with a positive trend. As you can see here, we have a positive trend over the years, so increasing the number of ports offering OPS. However, here behind this, we have problems as the frequency, the taxes, so it's not so easy to implement this, but it seems that the trend is positive. Another of the actions that we can do to make the ports cleaner is use LNG, liquefied natural gas. And as you can see, over the years, it also has been increased. Now we have around 1/3 of ports offering these services. And finally, we also have, as we call, differentiated use for greener vessels. What this means are discounts for those vessels that arrive and they are doing something for the environment to be cleaner, to be more environmentally friendly. For example, initiatives such as air emission reductions or waste management or segregation or environmental certificates. Okay, so if you have this and you arrive to a port, you will get a discount if they have this implementation of differentiated use. And it seems that nowadays, ports are also increasing with this number of measures to reduce the cost for the ships that have greener actions, as you can see here. So, as conclusions, well, despite COVID, we can see that it has been a proactive action by European ports to improve environmental performance. We also have seen that issues like environmental policy and significant environmental aspects that are essential are with very high consideration by European ports. Monitoring is essential. We've seen that port waste and energy efficiency are the key elements to be monitored because, of course, they are related with many issues, but legislation and money at the end. But, of course, not all is good. We have some bad things and we have to take care of them or at least pay attention to see if they can improve in the future, like environmental training. If we don't train our employees in environmental issues, of course, the performance of the port will not be the same as we expect. And also the certification. To get a certificate from an external auditor saying that we are doing things okay, it's a proof of evidence that we are good with the environment. So I think it's really relevant to get these numbers higher. Concerning the top 10, air quality, as we said, is the top 1, followed by climate change, which has increased a lot over the last years. And yeah, we are offering in ports, it seems that a good set of green initiatives, such as the onshore power supply, differentiated fees, so discounts for ships that are doing things in an environmental sustainable way, and or using also LNG for bunkering. In conclusion, as we can see here, there is a proof of evidence that ports are paying attention about environmental issues and trying to improve every day, as we have seen some examples here of ports that you presented today. And I think that's the idea, no? Continue with this and try to track these issues that we see that are getting a little bit lower than we expected. So I went quite quickly because I know we are late, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask me today, or here you have my contact for any questions in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dabra Roman, for this very interesting presentation. It's great to see what is happening in Europe as a whole on the port sector, and hopefully we'll have, as you said, many ports from the region joining the eco-ports and sharing their data within the next few years. So with that, I would like to open the floor to any questions that you may have on these presentations for the second session. As I said, you can either raise your hand or write your question in the chat. Possibly I can pick up on the question that we received earlier about marine litter in the Danube and address it to Mr. Moldoveanu to see if there is any problem with marine litter that the port of Tulcea or the city of Tulcea are facing and if there is any action that they have undertaken or they plan to address this challenge if it applies there.
Hello. You can repeat the last two words. I don't understand very well, please.
About marine litter in the port of Tulcea. Yes. If you have like any, if this is a problem for Tulcea, if you have this problem, and if you have it, if there are any actions that you plan in order to address it.
No, it's not a problem for now. In our action, we don't have a plan for this moment. We'll see when our port will be finished with this investment, and after maybe we have some plan action in this area. For now, it's we don't have problems.
Okay.
If I may, regarding the marine litter question, together with our other co-organizer for today's webinar, the International Center for Black Sea Studies, ICBSS, and our CIRICA Vice President, Ms. Carmen Avram, who is in charge of the Danube and the Black Sea, we're examining the possibility of having an online conference, apparently, on marine litter in the Danube and the Black Sea. As a follow-up of an international conference organized by ICBSS a few years ago, exactly on the same area, the Danube and the Black Sea, and it was organized in Sofia. So as a thematic we could touch upon is already on our to-do list, and we'll try to address this topic and see a bit, because we know that there are several projects co-funded under the Danube program or the ENI Black Sea Basin Cross-Border Cooperation Program. We know that there are stakeholders that are leading relevant projects from Bulgaria, from Georgia, from Romania and other countries. So we're trying to map them and get in contact with the different stakeholders so that we can organize a specific webinar on this topic.
Thank you, Mr. Karlamos. It's good to hear that this is already on the radar, and there is plan to address this topic within the next events. And I guess all participants will be interested to know about that and be informed about these events. I see a hand raised from Professor Kalinov.
Yes, thank you very much. May I add a few words about the marine litter? While doing that, I will ask my colleague Seiko to share one very brief movie of 30 seconds. We studied this problem and we continue to work on it. And believe me, it is very important. And the problem is that we are not pretty familiar with, let's say, the distribution of litter and the influence on the distribution of the litter, influence of currents and wind. We elaborated one model which studied the distribution. May I show the model? Only to share my screen. Okay. And we are ready to cooperate with, especially with colleagues from Romania. Here is the model. We may look at it, and let's start the simulation. And it is dynamic model, but it develops slowly. Imagine that this was the line of litter. It is on the border between Bulgaria and Romania. The tide is the average. The current is the average current for April 2019. And okay, we may see how hour by hour it influenced. Now we have 300 hours later, how it is distributed. We have readiness to develop our model, adding wind, and to study the particularity of the distribution of marine litter, especially in coastal areas, in ports. And I want to announce with this our readiness for cooperation, especially in this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Galimov, for sharing this interesting work that you do. I think it will be valuable also for the different stakeholders in the area. Do we have any other question?
I have a question, or maybe an encouragement, because I am quite positively surprised by what is done at the pan-European level and what Professor Darbran shared with us. So we could examine, because we are here to discuss for cooperation opportunities, not only within our region, the wider Balkan and Black Sea region, but also with different European stakeholders and sea basins. And what we heard today about the ESPO study and how things are perceived and how other stakeholders from Europe expect and prepare for the upcoming challenges at the global level, we could envisage a kind of brainstorming together with other universities, as the Polytechnic University of Catalonia, if Professor Darbran agrees, and see how we could bring their expertise to our area.
Yes, thank you for that. I think it's a good opportunity because, as you said, in fact, improving is sharing knowledge. So if we are sharing what we are doing with what you are doing, I'm sure that we will learn, you will learn. And in fact, the origin of all this EcoPorts project that we had in the past, it was sharing information between ports. I remember I was in the EcoPorts project, and we having the port of Hamburg and the port of Barcelona and the port of Gdańsk, and they were sharing experiences. What are you doing concerning dust? Look, I'm doing this. What are you doing concerning waste? So they were exchanging, and that was the main point of this, because it shouldn't be a competition. The environment should be something that we should share in order to improve, because the environment is from everyone. So I think, yeah, it's very positive, and I think, of course, we can talk and collaborate as much as we can. And I think ESPO also could be involved in that direction, because you have members there, and they know that the committee, environmental committee, they're doing a lot of initiatives. I think they should be there.
There are different funding opportunities coming within the next few months. We all expect the first Horizon Europe calls, for instance, to be published soon. So it will be quite useful to see, since Catalonia is also CPMR member, and to discuss with our members from the Balkan and the Black Sea region about possible cooperation opportunities also between the universities. When we work, as I've said before, we don't only work with our members that are the regional authorities, but also with stakeholders from their territories, universities, clusters, other research centers, and municipalities or NGOs. So we could further reflect on that.
Yeah, that's good. And talking about that, about projects, there is a lot of opportunity of collaboration. In fact, we had a project called Peripheral, in which we were checking Black Sea ports. Remember, I was in Romania and I was in Bulgaria. So we started this type of research, collaborating with this area. So I think it will be good, in the future, if we have the chance to have a new project, a new research initiative, we will be very happy to contribute.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if I may, I also have a question for Professor Darbra that builds upon the what you said just now. We also have been cooperating a lot with ports within Greece, but also within Europe, and we see that energy is a key issue for them. And my question is that there is a lot of attention now on investments on renewables, either solar panels, either wind turbines in ports, but also on ocean energy like wave energy converters at different areas within the port. my question is if within the study of ESPO, of EcoPorts, if you considered what is the current status with regard to renewable energy, because I guess when the ports are considering also OPS systems, they will also like to have a renewable mix within the energy that's being handled by the OPS.
Yeah, you're right. From the survey, we don't get this information. We only get, yes, you are doing these initiatives. It's important for you, energy efficiency. It's important for you taking, it was one of your priorities. That's what we get from the survey. So we don't know exactly what's going on. But as you said, on the onshore power supply, there is a lot of things behind. I said it in the presentation a little bit, but it's very nice to say we are going to use onshore power supply, but you know, there is a lot of taxes applying to that. And for example, they are not there when you are talking about consumption of fuels. Again, what you are saying, this electricity comes from somewhere. And if this electricity comes from a nuclear plant, so then we are not being very environmental friendly. So as you said, I think it would be nice also to know exactly which are the plans of the ports for getting this electricity for the onshore power supply, for example, or in general for the port, and see if the renewable energy has an important role. But from the survey, we don't know this information.
Okay. Yeah, because in the discussions that we had with the ports, I think also the production of hydrogen was a key priority for them. So many ports are starting to consider such forms of power to be exploited within the area. So I guess, as Mr. Kalognos said, it will be good to consider these new focus areas of the port sector and see also what synergies there are with the surrounding communities, with these surrounding urban regions, in order to have like more an integrated approach into sustainability planning and improving the environmental performance.
From our part, we'll also share these thoughts together with our main partners in the area, as PSAMI and Peripheral University based in Istanbul, who is the lead partner of our MINE EMI Erasmus Plus project. So we'll provide them all information that came out of our today's webinar, and see how we could also take it into consideration. Since the training aspect was mentioned, we need to see with those who are in charge of it, and the main stakeholders there are the maritime universities around the Black Sea. I don't know if Professor Elbayrak would like to add something. Or someone from yes.
Okay, Stavros, thank you very much. Actually, I don't plan to speak, but you already covered our entire.
Sorry for putting pressure, but since you are there, we think that you've been coordinating us very well around the Black Sea, so we'd like to have your input.
That's why you are our dissemination hand. So when you are disseminating something, there is no need to me. We already informed everyone, and we will keep inviting everyone to our future conferences. And also we will share all outcomes. As various speakers have emphasized that the training is the third pillar of everything. One is, we can say for today, the greening, the other is digitalization, and the training, because even the green is bringing new technologies. So the training will play a vital role in implementation and development of these issues. And that's why our project is based on emerging maritime issues, which we will be looking to future. Also, as we have been discussing in various meetings, that there should be an interoperable, very close cooperation with all stakeholders, the public, private, and the academia. So we will bring in our stakeholder conference all involved. Thank you. And high letter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Bayrak. I don't know if we have any other question. I think we are half an hour late from the scheduled closure of the webinar. So I would like to ask if we have any other question, last question, or I don't see any reaction. So I would like to thank once again all the speakers for the valuable contributions and the time taken to be here with us today. I would like to thank my co-organizers, Mr. Stavros Kalogmemos and Mrs. Georgia Hanji, for their support with the organization of this webinar. And I would like to just mention as a closing remark that I think this was extremely helpful to see more in detail about one transport sector after the general webinar that we had. And we foresee in the future to be able to also focus on other subsectors of transport that we consider essential for the region. So we will be back with some other webinars that we will share with you and see what developments and what ideas can be put forward and possibly what collaborations can emerge from the discussion that we will have. So from my side, I would like to thank you all. I don't know, Stavro or Georgia, if you have any other remarks that you would like to say before closing the webinar.
Thank you very much, Lefteri, for the excellent moderation and the great co-organization we had for this webinar. As I said before, we remain at your entire disposal to facilitate networking, exchanges, encourage cooperation, and work together with our member regions and other key partners in the area to promote development and growth and further cooperation in the wider Balkan and Black Sea region. So please get back to me should you need any updates regarding our next meetings or the ASPAN project that will be officially launched soon, within the next few weeks. And as well regarding our planning for the Syrica intergroup conferences. Not only to ask for updates, but please feel free to share your ideas so that we can better map the needs in the region and provide tailor-made events and work on projects as well. So thank you very much once again for being here.
Thank you very much. And that's it for us. I hope everyone be safe and enjoy the rest of the day.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.